I'd like to bring the meeting of the Pittsburgh City Commission to order, please. Join me, flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll open up the meeting with public input, and I believe we have Tom Warmer from St. John's Lutheran Church.
Yes, and I'm here for the Pittsburgh Ministerial Association to share a prayer as we begin, so let's pray. Living God, our Creator, you are above all and through all and in all. We give thanks to you for the blessing of this day and for the ways that you have blessed our community with its beauty and with its resources. And we thank you too for the blessing of each other. We pray now for those communities which are struggling with weather disaster. We ask that you would grant them your mercy and protection, your perseverance and strength. And we pray too for your blessing upon this meeting. Grace our civic leaders with your spirit of wisdom, humility, courage, and peace, that they may promote the good of all and hear the voices of all who reside in our community. Guide them in all of their decisions, that they may be faithful models of leadership for all of us. For to you belongs glory and dominion, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Anyone else for public input? Please step forward. Seeing none, I close public input. Move on to the consent agenda. Any items anyone wishes to eliminate?
Item D. I'm joking.
Item B. Okay. Seeing or hearing none, looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. I second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Chenoweth? Aye. McNally?
Aye.
McNay?
Aye.
Munsell?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye. Consider the following. Ordinance number G1298. Consider adopting ordinance number G1298, amending section 78-31 of the Code of the City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, and providing for the protection and health, property and safety, and the regulation of traffic by adopting by reference the 2019 edition of the Standard Traffic Ordinances for Kansas Cities, as published by the League of Kansas Municipalities, save and except such parts or portions as supplemented, deleted, or changed, and repealing ordinance number G1283. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. What you have in front of you, this is an annual ordinance that we bring before you. The first one is the Kansas Standard Traffic Ordinance. And basically, in a nutshell, what this does is the STO currently has 204 sections in it. If we didn't, by ordinance, adopt the STO from the league, we would have to have those 204 sections in our city ordinances. We'd have 204 separate ordinances that our legal staff would have to review every year to do updates. The league does all of that for us, provides it. I have a copy of our current one, little handbook, and it takes care of all the regulation except for the recommendations that you see in the ordinance made by City Prosecutor John Missouri.
I didn't see anything in it that looked like it was different. I mean, is there any kind of a change, Tim?
I don't believe in the traffic ordinance, I don't believe there was any changes, no, sir.
Okay.
And in the standard traffic ordinance, the ones that we're recommending either supplement, delete, or change are already in our city ordinances, so I don't think there was any changes in that one.
So this is one of the benefits we get from belonging to Kansas League of Cities.
Absolutely.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
I second. It's been moved and approved. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Ordinance number G 1299. Consider adopting ordinance number G 1299, amending section 54-41 of the Code of City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, regulating certain public offenses within the corporate limits of the City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, by adopting by reference the 2019 edition of the Uniform Public Offense Code for Kansas cities, as published by the League of Kansas Municipalities, save and except such parts or portions as supplemented, deleted, or changed, and repealing ordinance number G 1284. Yes, sir.
Same song, second verse. This is the Uniform Public Offense Code piece. So this is what you'll find, battery, domestic battery, disorderly conduct, littering, those kinds of charges. There were a couple of additions to this one. In 19, there was an addition by the legislature on interference with a EMT in the performance of their duties. I believe there was another one added about gaming, in addition to that. But otherwise, it was pretty much standard across the board.
I noticed in this, you're regulating the skate park hours,
The state park hours.
skate park,
Oh, skate park,
Schneider-
yes,
Schneider
yes.
Park.
Sorry,
yeah.
let me, I apologize, let me turn up, I missed that one.
I was probably mumbling.
Yeah, we have.
Do we
have,
think these are adequate? I mean, I noticed that you're closing it down at 9 o'clock during the summertime. Is that due to neighbors or?
You know, I would defer to Kim. I don't know that we've had some complaints up there of noise and music and things like that after hours.
Because that park has metal ramps, it was a noise issue when it was built, so
Okay.
the metal ramps definitely.
Does it still have metal ramps?
So, yes.
It still has metal ramps?
Yes, yes.
I haven't skated, used it.
Yeah, gravity wins every time, so I don't go near a skateboard.
Did you say depravity?
Gravity.
I thought that's what you meant.
If there are
That would
no
be
other
on a roll,
questions, I move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
Item C, final payment, Gutteridge Complex Restroom and Concession Stand Project. Consider staff recommendation to approve final payment to Tri-State Building and Service Supply Company Incorporated of Pittsburgh, Kansas, in the amount of $17,372 for the Gutteridge Complex Restroom and Concession Stands. Now, it's your turn.
Good evening.
Good.
Back in November, we approved Tri-State Building and Supply Company Incorporated to build 2 new restroom and concession stand complexes in the Don Gutteridge Sports Complex. We were able to open those for spring ball, so they have been in use through spring, summer, and now in fall. But they have completed their obligations. We have 2 1,400 square foot buildings that include concessions, restrooms, storage rooms for both the park's maintenance staff to put equipment in, and then for our dry goods for concessions. So we're very pleased with the facilities and asking for final payment.
Looks great.
Was PSU not involved in this?
Not in this
Not-
project.
Not this project?
This project, if you'll remember, was a Land and Water Conservation Fund project, so we did get a matching grant from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and then the city's portion was part of our bond issue.
I've had the opportunity to walk through some of those and job well done. Those look great.
This was much needed improvement to that area, Kim. They look good.
Okay. Seems like that's okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Cooling tower replacement project, fire station number 1. Consider approval of change order number 1 reflecting an increase of $9,568.15, making a new construction a new contract construction amount of $73,268.15 for the cooling tower replacement project at Fire Station Number 1. Yes, sir.
So there's two change orders on there. The first one being a scope of work change for miscellaneous parts and repairs that we found leaks and different things with in the hydronic system. The other part of that system's made up of the contractor flush for 2+ weeks on trying to clean and remove all the debris in the existing system. There was some additional cleaning and flushing that needed to be done inside of that. The contractor was coming in all hours of the night, checking the systems, removing the screens, cleaning the screens, keeping that debris, just keep flushing and flushing. That's part of it. The second part of it is inside of that, the extension for control wiring. We discovered during the startup of the new unit that the unit would shut down, but the fan controls were not tied into that, and so the fan would keep running. And so we want to correct that control wiring while we're completing this project. So that's what we're asking for tonight as part of those change orders.
Questions or concerns?
And some of the items that you discovered wouldn't have been known until you got in there and
Not till you get, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
reflect that.
we have that. don't we?
Is that on? It looks real nasty.
I believe you.
How long was that, Mike?
10 years, a little 10 years.
And part of that came from the corrosion of the existing unit.
We didn't have proper chemical treatment we're gonna have now, should help that from happening again.
So how old is that chiller?
The new one, the old one? The old one is 10.
I hope the new one's new.
New one's
The new one's new. The new one's new. The old one was
And
10
the
and
new
a half
one's,
years old.
yeah, the new one is stainless steel instead of galvanized.
Yeah, it should last.
It should last much, much longer.
Any other projects that's going on with Fire Station Number 1?
Not with number one, other than getting the chemicals up to date on this chiller.
Yeah. We've held off putting the glycol in the system at the moment because we're not in winter conditions yet, but as part of they are not final in the project, we do have to introduce the glycol before fall and we get freezing conditions. So we've held off on the glycol because we don't want to contaminate it, just because we've continued to check the screens on a regular basis just to make sure there's nothing else in the system before we introduce that glycol. So we will be doing that in the next week or two.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, I look for a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
I second. Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Good luck.
Vacation request. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to approve the request submitted by Kendall A. McPhail on behalf of Pittsburgh Highlands LP to vacate a tract of land being part of Lot 15, Pittsburgh Highlands, in addition to the city of Pittsburgh, Crawford County, state of Kansas, according to the recorded plat thereof. Yes, sir, Cameron?
All right. Lot 15, it's this lot here on the eastern half of the plat there. That's the sewer line going in there. This is before the construction there. And the actual vacation request is only a 3-foot portion in that. There's a structure that got built into that easement there. They're giving us, we'll give the city full indemnification, so if anything happens with the sewer there and causes any damage to the house, they cannot come back on the city for any damage to that property.
So this is basically to clear up an error that,
Correct.
Cameron, I attended that planning and zoning board meeting, and a couple of the members of the committee suggested maybe possibly in the future on developments or any new homes, I thought, might consider having it surveyed so we know exactly where the property would be. Have you thought about that, or?
We've started to investigate that. No other communities in southeast Kansas do that. However, some of the larger communities up around Kansas City that have seen quite a bit of growth do that. And so we're still collecting information, what would it cost and that, so we can bring that back to the planning commission for their evaluation.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
you go.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, in part of your research, are you determining how often we have a situation like this, if the cost is justified?
In that, I say, right now, you buy a piece of property, you don't have to have it surveyed or plat a survey done when you acquire that. When I lived up in Illinois, that was with every single transaction you had that. So it's one of the things I'm getting used to down here as well. But this is just so that folks know, what would that cost be, and do we want to have that put on to any project? Because you look at doing, if you're to put that in place, you want to do that on any piece of property across the city versus just, pick and choose here and there.
Sure.
Because you have issues like this all across, or potential issues all across the city.
So the cost would be borne by the developer and or the individual buying the property?
Right, whoever's doing that construction.
I see.
Is that something that you might put out for bid for, maybe have one surveyor per year do that, or is that just?
The situations vary on that so much because some of your costs can, if you're doing a development, you had a surveyor out there putting all the property pins in, it's not that much more for them to go do that. But if you have to go in and, to an older property, perhaps one that hadn't been originally subdivided to begin with, and try and recreate a legal survey, that's going to be much more involved. So it's not a one-size-fit-all that you can just put it in there, much like our concrete replacement. Doesn't matter where you're at in the city, 4 inches of concrete is 4 inches of concrete.
Sure.
Well, it seems to me like it makes sense to have the piece of property that you're building on have the knowledge that it really is the piece of property that you think it is.
Right. And like I said, that
I think it sounds like it's a worthwhile thing to have. I mean, I've had neighbors who say that part of somebody's house is on their lot. It just seems like it's part of the price of doing business.
So what would that look like from would it be an ordinance, or what's the mechanics of this?
we'd take it through the planning commission, get their recommendation, and like I say, we're just beginning on the research
Sure.
side of that, so don't know exactly if it'd be ordinance, resolution, or how that would
It's some
be going
formal
forward.
document?
Right.
Okay.
Sounds like there's a lot of support
Yeah.
amongst us to pursue that, so.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Cameron. Conditional use. The Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, in a meeting of August the 26th, 2019, voted unanimously to recommend governing body approval of a request submitted by the First Church of the Nazarenes of Pittsburgh for a conditional use permit under the provisions of Article 30 of the Pittsburgh zoning ordinance to allow the lot currently located at 814 East Quincy to be used as a temporary parking lot, with said lot to be wrought for a period not to exceed 12 months. Yes, sir.
The property we're looking at is there, the Nazarene Church owns it. It's the property that the arrow's kind of circling on there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That, if you drove by the site today, that house has been demolished, has been for several months. What the church is looking at is potentially having an expansion of their facility, and they're not sure where exactly that would lay out. So what they were requesting is to be able to put down rock as a temporary parking lot area for them, or material for their parking lot, until they get the final set of plans done, and they will know where they'd be able to put that parking lot and be able to put in the more permanent material there. They have 12 months to either improve the pavement, remove it, or come back to the planning commission for further review.
So instead of rock in 12 months, if they wanted a parking lot, they'd have to asphalt it or concrete or?
Correct, yeah. Have one of the approved surfaces, which is asphalt or concrete.
Or build a building.
Yeah.
So I say build the building, and I say as part of that, you know, they would still have to be required to eliminate the temporary rock for their parking.
So is it just where that house is and not the whole sort of section where the parking lot is gonna be?
Correct, let me,
I know that no one presented at planning and zoning in opposition, but I do know there is some concern from houses along that road, so I'm glad to see that it was only a year.
right. And at the planning commission, the daughter of the resident there did stand up and speak. They hadn't got anything formalized yet as far as an agreement, but they felt that they were far enough along that they didn't have any opposition to proceeding with this. The area, this is the parcel goes down and all the way up, so it's kind of back behind those first two parcels at front Stillwell. What they've discussed doing is just limiting their parking area to that, basically where the house sits, that north half of that property. So try and minimize any sort of noise or other impacts to the property there south of the homestead.
So does the church feel like they need expanded parking, or is that a temporary solution of something? It
what
seems
they're-
like there's a lot of parking there.
Right, what they're trying to do with this is, it primarily is used for parking for folks that go to the homestead. That's the
Oh, the
property there on the
coffee shop.
corner. And this would keep them from parking all down that drive
Oh,
behind that neighbor to the south, and allow them to park to the east on that temporary rock area. And so try and help consolidate that.
that
Again,
makes
they,
sense.
they're
That
trying to
makes
avoid sinking in money that they'd have to run and tear back up within a year if they do build in that particular spot.
Any conversation about a layer of oil to minimize the dust that is gonna be created?
That had not come up yet.
And this was a unanimous approval
Correct.
by the zoning appeals.
Well, I can't say that I love seeing more giant parking lots going up around the city, but I like that this is temporary, and I can absolutely see the need for that in the homestead business there. So if nobody else has any questions, I move to approve.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Cameron.
All right, thank you.
Non-agenda reports and requests. Bi-monthly budget review. Director of Finance Jamie Clarkson will provide the August the 31st, 2019 bi-monthly budget review. Good evening, Jamie. I'll tell you, I think now that we have this wonderful screen in front of us, I think you can save the money printing this.
Okay. This is for the month ending August 31st, 2019. It's 8 months into the city's fiscal year. Approximately 66 and 2/3% of the year has passed. I don't really have any issues with anything right now. All the funds are performing as I expected they would. Most of the revenues are over the 66%, and most of the expenditures are under the 66%, except for the ones that are seasonal operations, like the street expenditures are gonna be more, because this is when we do all our work. We started the year out with 13.4 million. At the end of August, we had 14.4 million in the bank. I've collected most of the large money we're gonna get for property taxes for the year. I have one more tax distribution, September 20th, and then one small one in October 31st. The one in September is generally just for motor vehicle taxes, and then the rest will just be monthly sales tax collections and franchise tax collections and utility revenues. Sales tax is doing well. we're up 8.89% compared to the same time last year. The city's portion of that sales tax is actually doing about 2% growth. And the difference is that there's a decline in the county's portion of that sales tax for whatever reason. But it's been 8 months of positive growth this year on sales tax, which is good. I mean, usually it's a wavy up and down thing. But this has just been steady growth, so that's really good. The casino's performing well. We just got the money from the casino today for last month, and it was over $30,000, so.
I was gonna ask you about that, Jamie, I didn't see it on here, so
Yeah,
it's over 30,000?
yeah, so we're averaging about almost just under 30,000 a month for the year so far at the casino, so it's doing well as well.
And that goes into the general
Yeah,
revenue?
general fund.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Wasn't that what they estimated it would be, around 600,000 when they? first-
Well, 600,000 for the city and the county.
Right.
We only get half of that, so.
Right.
Yeah, they estimated $30 million in revenues, and so we get 1% of whatever their gross revenues are, or
Right.
gaming revenues are. So, pretty much right on the mark.
You just said gaming revenue. Is that different than their restaurants in the casino? and
Yeah,
all of
that would be considered
That's
food sales, and we would get sales tax off of
Right,
food sales.
right.
And then the hotel would be different, where there'll be a
Correct.
bed tax and a
Sure.
sales tax, but, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't, those come in as a conglomerate, so I don't know what those
Right.
are.
Okay, that's great. All good news. Thank you for the
Okay.
Thank you.
update, keeping us on track. Any other non-agenda reports or requests?
I would like to talk about a survey that's out there. I guess there's some phone calls being made and some surveys that are going out via text, asking about the commission's performance, some questions about the electric utility. I have not seen these, but I've just heard about them. I would just like to kind of clear the air on some of my positions to maybe help people as they fill out the survey. We voted in here to explore this issue, and that's all at this point that we've done. And we are all kind of in at least I'm in a wait and see mode. I'm not pro Westar, I'm not pro city. We are just gathering information at this point. And if that time comes and we decide that, my personal position would be that I would support a public vote on that expenditure. So I know that that's out there. I haven't seen the survey, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of clarify my position on that. I do think this is something the city should explore, but we're a long, long way. This is a long process. We're gathering information. And should it be something that would be good for Pittsburgh, that would be something that I would send to the people to have in a public vote. So just wanted to kind of clear the air on that.
I'd like to make a comment. Last commission meeting, I believe it was, we spent some money for public education. And I think maybe that's what maybe the survey might be about, some more public information. But I agree with you, Daniel, that I am in support of, when we get to that point, I think that should be a vote of the citizen. And I'm happy to hear that.
Darren, do you have any, so if we just rely on Facebook, there's an impression that Westar did that. I would personally find that hard to believe because the questions were so slanted and presented information that probably needs to be verified. Did you hear anything from Westar today, or they haven't reached out?
No, we had a pretty busy, probably 10 hours, and then this morning, the calls about the survey stopped and the calls about the robocalling started, which apparently the survey was turned off by whoever originated it, and then it became a robocalling effort, and they were calling into the people in the county. So, Westar has been pretty good as we've gone through the last year of discussing, what's going on, what we were thinking that we wanted to study this, they would help us. So personally, I would give them more credit than to put out. We have a few people around that have graduate degrees that study surveying. It's one of those things in grad school that you kind of get stuck doing, like English Lit when you're getting your undergrad, you just kind of have to do it. That survey is more of what I've been told is that survey is more of a information pushing piece than a survey wanting to get information. I think the difference being when you ask the questions that are in the survey about the potential cost of the system, that is definitely information that is Westar's information, so how they would get that information, somebody that was not Westar. So whether it was somebody that was aligned with Westar, we don't know where it came from, we really don't care. I do care what its purpose was, because we're the one answering the phones from people that are calling, asking what's going on. I think we need to, and Chuck brings up a great point, whatever it is, it's not the last of it. And one of the reasons that we're trying to be patient and work with Westar is because that kind of information is not really helpful in anybody's making a decision. Number one, the president of Westar is coming up, or of Evergy is going to come up tomorrow and meet with a couple of us. I think he'll be pretty forthright on where it came from, and we'll definitely ask him. But I think people should be prepared that robocalling is a tool of the 21st century here. I mean, it's going to happen. And I got the survey. I don't know how it went to whoever it went to. My wife's number's on the Westar bill, so I would have think. I didn't think originally Westar did it, but whoever did it, it's going to be part of. There's going to be people that are for or against the city versus Westar. Our approach is the city with Westar. We'll go study this and see if there's something we can come up with. But I don't have a great answer on. I would never want to throw anybody under the bus, and I have my own personal opinion that that's a very poor survey. If that was his intention, that it was a push piece by somebody trying to get information out about how much money we would have to spend, and all the things that could go wrong. So I don't think, Westar didn't tell us they were going to do anything like that. So maybe somebody's out there using them as a way to.
Well, it was obviously a survey that slanted against Pittsburgh considering this option. I mean, it was blatant, whoever put it out. And I think people need to be aware that when they read this kind of material, that they have to think about it and think about where it comes from and look at the whole picture that was presented on this survey. I mean, everything about it was negative to the prospect of us going in this direction. And I just caution people when they get these kind of things to read them and think about them. And don't just take them at face value. Realize that the people that put those out have an agenda. Just like we will have an agenda when we get out public information about what we're doing. I mean, we've got an agenda to inform the public, the good and the bad that is going to be coming up about this. So let's just remember that, read it and think about it.
Don, you mentioned Facebook, and I'm not a Facebook person, and that's one of the reasons, because people can sit at home on Facebook and say whatever they want to say behind closed doors. If they have something to say, they ought to be able to talk face to face, so I don't put much stock in Facebook, so.
Well, there was just of course, we all have our circle of Facebook friends. My circle is blaming Westar, so this, for some people, this probably wasn't, that is not the intended, probably not the intended reaction from whoever sent it, so.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, two things that if we can close it out. One is to the woman that called. She does not live in the city. She couldn't get him off the phone. If she didn't answer all the questions, it called back. It called her 15 times in a row.
Oh my gosh.
So the message there is, we're looking for a better way to communicate. And that brings me to the last point I'll make, which is, Chuck brought it up. You know, you guys were very receptive to the idea at the last meeting. Let's spend some money and get some information. Our information will not be a survey of customer satisfaction with Westar. Our information will be about public power and the concepts that we're working on, and it won't be a sales pitch to put down Westar, Evergy, the merger, any of their employees or anything else. So I do hope people understand there's a way to study something, and whatever happened in the last 24 hours in this community and may go on for the next 2 years is not a practice of studying. It's a practice of attacking and misinformation. And it's the nature of politics in America right now, and it seems very political. But we're not going to do that with the money that you guys authorized, I promise you. And if you read the stuff we put out and you think you see that, you need to let us know, hey, I think that's over the line. We are going to try to inform, and tomorrow we're hopefully going to continue the negotiation with Evergy about can we get to a number that we can bring back to the people, U5 and all of the voters, and say, hey, is this something we should consider? But that is not going to happen anytime soon. That's a very long process, and hopefully yesterday was a glitch and somebody obnoxious did it, and
Okay,
they'll move on.
great.
I do have a couple of things if you don't mind.
Okay, I don't mind, I guess.
So 3 firefighters responded to a hurricane.
Yes.
I know everybody's taken their chance on Facebook and everywhere else to say great job, but great job. That's part of the Kansas Task Force. Hats off to the chief. And once again, that's a long drive. If nothing else, whatever you see when you get there, that's a long drive down there. All packed up, ready to respond. The Block 2 ceremonies are coming on Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, I've got,
And I'll let somebody else touch on that then. And then the league's meeting is in Pittsburgh. The league's governing body is actually coming to Pittsburgh. That doesn't happen a lot. It's all the mayors of the big cities we always hear about speaking, Wichita, blah, blah, blah. But it should be a good time. It's a good time to show off the town. It's paint the town red. I'm looking forward to hosting them. And I thought that as elected officials, you ought to know that they're going to be in your community, and we will be talking you up in the community. Sorry.
no, I understand that Block 22 is having a ceremony to kind of celebrate the success of the restoration of the historic buildings and some of the businesses that have gone in there. And they're going to talk about the impact on the community and some of the local vendors that are in there and some of the vision, talk about this unique collaboration between the city and the university. There'll be a presentation in the Colonial Fox at 2 o'clock, and then following that, there'll be a ribbon cutting out on Broadway. After that, from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, or 3:30 to 5:30, citizens will have the opportunity to go get a sneak peek at some of those new businesses and some of the existing stuff. I know we've all been en route, we've been in some of the places, but it's an amazing facility, it's an amazing accomplishment, and I think it'd be great for the city to get out and to support this effort.
It's exciting to show it off. I tell you, we had Mr. Marshall, what is he, a senator?
Roger, this
Yeah.
U.S.
Yeah,
Congressman
Congressman.
from the first district.
He was, he was here in town, we spoke with him last week, and he was totally amazed and so supportive of all of us working together and making this happen. He said it's just something that he didn't see around the state. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to suggest to my fellow commissioners, I think we're all going to the league meeting.
Yes.
Yes, if we would just commit to bring back a little individual report, because I don't know how it operates, but sometimes we don't all go to the same thing, and I think it also shows the taxpayers good stewardship that we're out there learning, so.
Well, we're all going to dinner once together, I know that, so we'll keep each other in
Okay.
line, or at least try. But thanks for going to that, that's gonna be.
Anything else? Seeing none, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Then moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, folks.